perhaps if you want to strike your eyes better, stop being hold of. Welcome to How to Chip Over Pro.
One of my favorite sayings is that constraints create creativity. So what that means is that usually when you have limited resources, this is when some of your most creative ideas come about. Recently, Zhiyun sent me 3 lights. They're not paying me to make a video. They said I can pretty much do whatever I want. So I've had this idea for a while to shoot a golf video. The problem is that it's winter where I live. The weather is terrible, so I can't go outside. My friends are busy with their day-to-day lives, and I'm a terrible golfer. And as you guys know, it's extremely hard to film yourself. For this first scene, I wanted to film myself laying in bed, scrolling on my phone, watching golf tips because this is something I do often. So I wanted to show myself getting overwhelmed and then like transitioning into a dream state. Setting up this shot, I did this day for night. So the first thing I did was rated my camera to a cooler white balance to make the ambient light coming into the room like a cool blue color. And then I wanted to use the practicals and motivated lights to have a warmer color to create some color contrast because my room is pretty plain. So the first thing I did was take the M20C and place it in my bedside lamp and then kind of just play around with the levels and temperature until I got it to a place where I liked. The next thing I did was adding some haze to kind of add some volume to the scene, and then booming the F100 over top of me with the grid attachment to make it look like the phone was what was lighting my face. But one of the problems I had was with the haze floating around everywhere, it kind of like picks up the light. So if you look over top of me, you can kind of see a little bit of the light kind of just like floating up there. And in my opinion, it kind of takes away from the fact that the phone is lighting my face and doesn't really sell it as much. So entering the dream state, I found this stock footage of these thunderclouds. I always see these in like car commercials and stuff and just think it's kind of a cool effect and usually makes for some good sound design and transition. So I downloaded the log footage and then kind of graded it just to this bluish color to kind of match the rest of the video. After the lightning strike, I wanted a moving shot of the light going across my eye. So I used my probe lens and then again just took the F100 with the grid attachment and stood as close to the probe lens as I could and just waved the light back and forth until I could get just like a streak just going across my eye. So for the shot of the golf ball, I put a tee attached to a C-stand and then just balanced the golf ball on it. I used some white bounce board that I just picked up from like an arts and crafts store, and then used the F100 with the grid attachment again. I think this is definitely my favorite setup after messing with these 3. And just wave the light over top of it until I could get these little tiny ripples on the ball, and just played around with that until I had enough footage to get some shots of the light moving around in a way that I wanted. So this swinging shot was probably the hardest one to get because although my basement is large, it is not really like big enough to get a full body shot without showing a bunch of unwanted details. For example, the walls are white and the floor is like a brownish color, which just does not look good. It doesn't look like a studio. So instead of spending a bunch of time moving the lights around and just experimenting with it for hours, I hopped into Set a Light, which is a virtual lighting software. You can build out like custom spaces. So I measured my basement and then basically created a 3D version of my basement. And then after that, I played around with just using a 300D because the G200 and 300D have similar outputs. I tried backlighting, I tried side lighting, and ultimately landed on a top-down shot. I boomed the G200 over top of me, tried to kill as much of the spill as I could, and had my camera ND'd down as much as I could to bring the levels down so I could almost like black out the walls. Just let a ton of haze rip and went in there and swung the golf club like an idiot a bunch of times until I ultimately hit the light and ended up calling it a day. So it's for sale if you want it. The best editing tip that I've ever heard is to try to incorporate some form of tension and release. So a big buildup of tension followed by a release. You see this in literally every form of art. It's in music, it's in movies, you experience it on a roller coaster, and you even experience it when you're I'm guilty of picking a song and then just editing to the beat, which can work for a lot of videos, but at the same time, this can also leave your viewer getting kind of bored because they can anticipate what's going to happen next. So for this, I wanted to challenge myself to only use sound design. So using a sound effects pack, I built out a rhythm using risers to build up tension and then using hits to show release. Shout out to Zhiyun for sending me these 3 lights. It's really cool that they sent them out to a small creator like me. My first impressions are that the lights are really powerful. They're extremely versatile. I can already see a bunch of different ways I could use them, especially when traveling for shoots. One of the things I can't speak on though is the durability of them. I've only had them for a week, so I can't really say like how durable they are or if they'll last you. I recommend doing your own research on that. Thank you for watching. I want this channel to be a documentation of my process, and I want to bring you guys along for that. So if you enjoy stuff like this, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.